Oh my god, this hair. And I've styled it so that both sides are uneven because my part's wrong. I wanted to make this video to talk about something very important both to me but also just to the general discussion of cancer, and that is all things cancer and fertility. I was really lucky that I had done a lot of research before I even got my diagnosis, and also that my doctors were amazing in mentioning it to me. But I've read a lot of stories of people who didn't get this mentioned to them and who had no idea about how cancer or treatment could affect their fertility and what other options they could take instead. I think this topic is so important, especially for young people, because having a baby is pretty much the last thing that you're thinking of at this age. In fact, you actively take precaution not to have children. It's definitely something good to be aware of. I'm going to be talking about female fertility just because I am a female. This is a huge issue for men as well, but their fertility preservation process is a bit easier than our one. It involves like a cup, some nice images, maybe a video, and then it's kind of done and dusted. Female fertility is a bit more complicated. It's gonna get into it. So if you are biologically a female, I don't know how this affects your life if you decide to change that at any point, but you are biologically a female, meaning that you have ovaries, that you have a vagina, and you produce female hormones. First of all, I feel like I don't need to define what fertility is, but people really surprise me. Fertility is pretty much the ability to have a baby. That is a baby that is biologically yours, meaning that it has your genes and your DNA. So if you are infertile, it just means that you cannot have a baby that is biologically yours. Why I say biologically yours is because you can be infertile, but you can use a surrogate or an egg donor, or if you're a guy, you can have a sperm donor. So you can still have a baby, they're just not biologically related to you. And you know, this is a big deal for a lot of women. It was a big deal for me because I have always been a person that wants to have children later on in my life, and coming to terms with the high risk that my treatment will leave me infertile upset me the most. I think that any way that I can educate people is going to do more good than harm, and that is why I'm making this video. So how does female fertility work? Female fertility, let me tell you, is fucking amazing. The whole system, the way that it's put together is incredible. The main organs in our reproductive system are our ovaries. We have two ovaries, like this. Your ovaries have two main functions. Number one is producing eggs, also known as ova, and number two is producing your hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. When you're born, you are born with the most number of eggs that you will have in your life. On average, I think it's like 700,000 or 800,000 eggs. Pretty much as you get older, the number of eggs decreases until you hit menopause, when you have no eggs left and you stop having your periods and you're infertile, you can't have children anymore. So usually once a month, one egg will mature and pop off from the follicle. It'll go down your fallopian tube into your uterus, and if it doesn't get fertilized by a little spermy boy, you have your period. So how does cancer treatment affect this process? Well, the drugs that are used in chemotherapy, or chemo for short, they kill all the cells in your body, and they particularly target fast-growing cells. Fast-growing cells are generally tumor cells, but they also include healthy hair cells, which is why your hair falls out during chemotherapy. Included in this category of healthy cells are reproductive cells, such as your eggs and also the hormone producing cells in your ovaries. So what can happen during treatment is that the chemo can actually send you into early menopause. So if chemo makes your ovaries shut down, you will experience menopause symptoms such as mood swings and hot flushes and all the other things that come with that during the time that your treatment takes place. Some people recover from that and they get their periods back and they go back to normal, and some people never do, and so they have to deal with the consequences and the side effects of menopause at the age of, say, 20, which is what could potentially happen to me. Having that happen to you also puts you at greater risk of ovarian failure later on in your life, which is why it's really important to set up fertility measures for yourself before you start treatment, so that if any of these things happen, you have that future safely preserved for you. So I'm going to talk through my experience with fertility preservation, which is mainly through IVF. In short, they collect your eggs and they freeze them to store later. Obviously, this sounds really great, but keep in mind it is still relatively new technology and it does not guarantee that you will be able to have a baby. If you think of it this way, every cycle you have around a 20% chance of getting pregnant. That is considering all factors such as what time in your cycle that you have the intercourse, how good quality is that egg, does it like stick to your uterus properly. That might seem really low, but keep in mind that normal healthy people have a lot of times having a 20% chance to try and get pregnant. So the difference with IVF is that they only collect a certain number of eggs, and if you become infertile after treatment, those eggs that you collect are the only ones that you have for the rest of your life. Each egg carries, I think they said, a 35% chance of falling pregnant, but you don't get the years and years and years to try. You might only get 6 or 7 usable eggs, and if none of those work in getting you pregnant, you don't get pregnant, which is quite scary. So how does IVF actually work? IVF pretty much works to stimulate your hormones so that the follicles in your ovaries can grow as many eggs as possible to mature so that they can collect them. And this is done by self-injections. I'm gonna show you a video of me doing my injections because it's really gross but kind of cool. I was really not good with needles. I used to faint at blood tests, and now I get blood tests like every single day and I'm stabbing myself in the stomach. So miracles happen if you just believe in yourself. If you get scared of needles and you're squeamish about that type of stuff, I would recommend skipping over the next part. I do mind lying in bed. So I start off with just putting an it's cold. With putting an ice pack across my stomach. Like this numbs the area a little bit. I don't know why my throat's like this morning. So I have 3 that I need to do. I have this one, which is a blood thinner because with blood cancer you're prone to blood clots from the hormones. I have this one, which keeps the eggs on so that they don't all fall off. And then I have the one in here, which I'll show you in a second, and that's the hormone that actually stimulates them. So set this up. And one, two. Ow! Motherfucker. Because your ovaries get so big from IVF, I've been so bloated. This is first thing in the morning. Like usually I have abs and it's just like this little bulge. Push down. And that is it. I will insert a photo now that shows all my little puncture wounds from these injections. So, first of all, they check for how many follicles you have on your ovaries. Those are the tiny sacs that the eggs grow in. They do this using a transvaginal ultrasound. It is just as fun as the name would suggest. They stick a camera, which is shaped like a dildo, just for better word. They stick that up you from the bottom, up your hoo-ha. It's like an ultrasound of your insides, and it's cool because they give you a TV that you can see like your insides on, and so they count how many follicles you had. I had 14 on one side and 15 on the other side, so it's pretty even Steven. Go in every few days so that they can ultrasound you again and see how you're going. So yes, I had 3 injections a day, and then I went in for blood tests every day at 7 a.m. for a week, and a few ultrasounds here and there as well. When they're taking your blood test, they're monitoring your hormone levels. When they get to a level that they would like, they call you up and they say, tonight you need to take a trigger injection, which is 36 hours before the day that they're going to collect your eggs. And then you go in for the procedure. The procedure itself is pretty fast. I had it under general anesthesia, but I know that some people do it under local. To be honest, I love general anesthesia. You just get a really good nap. I feel like I always have really cool dreams. You know, enjoy it. This journey's shit enough. You may as well enjoy all the drugs that you get. Pretty much they stick something up your hoo-ha again, and they drain all the fluid out of the follicles, and they hope to get mature eggs. With me, they collected 11 mature eggs and 2 immature eggs. At the moment, with current technology, only mature eggs can be fertilized and made into babies, but they still freeze the immature ones just in case technology advances to a point where the immature ones can be developed into embryos, which is exciting because stuff in this field changes all the time. The procedure went well, it was fine, but I was really nauseous that afternoon. And like every time I tried to walk around, I'd be like, get into the bathroom. Forgot to mention, another thing that they spoke to me about was doing these things called Zoladex injections during chemo. Zoladex is pretty much a hormone that shuts down your ovaries and tells them to stop ovulating. And the idea is that it helps to protect your eggs in your ovaries while you're getting treatment. So I'll be getting that as well once a month. So yeah, fertility is a really, really big and important issue for young people with cancer, and just make sure that if you are going through the same thing, that you talk to your doctors about it and make sure that there is something that they can do to help you out if that is something that you're interested in. I think that's all for me. I'll put my Instagram down below again because some people said that they found me through YouTube on my last video. And yeah, I will keep you all updated.